Let's break it down. Donald Trump has stopped pretending. In a recent comment about Venezuela, he said the quiet part out loud. They took our oil rights. We want it back. That's not just a slip of the tongue. It's a window into how his team really thinks about another country's resources. I'm Imran, a Middle East-based analyst who follows US politics and global affairs. In about 3 minutes, let's walk through what Trump just admitted, the history behind it, and what it means for ordinary people in Venezuela and beyond. First, what exactly did Trump say? When he was asked about his naval blockade and tanker seizures off Venezuela's coast, Trump didn't talk about democracy or human rights or free and fair elections. He talked about our oil rights, our companies, and wanting Venezuela's land and assets back. But those rights he's talking about were contracts held by US oil giants like Exxon and ConocoPhillips before Venezuela forced them into joint ventures under Hugo Chavez in the 2000s. The Venezuelan government argued that the oil belongs to the Venezuelan people, so the state company should be in control and foreign firms should be junior partners, not owners. From Trump's point of view, that wasn't nationalization by a sovereign state, it was theft from American corporations. That's the mindset behind this whole policy. Second, how did we get to a blockade over oil? For more than a decade, Washington has tried almost everything short of a full invasion to squeeze Caracas. You had open support for opposition figures and attempted coups. Then came heavy financial sanctions and later direct sanctions on Venezuela's state oil company. Those measures choked off revenue, made it harder to buy spare parts and chemicals, and helped drive down production in an industry that used to pump more than 3 million barrels a day. Now we're in a new phase. Naval actions, tanker seizures, and a declared blockade of all sanctioned tankers going in and out of Venezuela. One exception stands out. Shipments linked to a major US oil company are reportedly being allowed through, while other tankers risk being stopped, boarded, or turned around. On paper, the official story is about restoring democracy and fighting crime. In practice, Trump and some of his top advisors keep coming back to the same point. They believe Venezuelan oil, and even parts of its territory, should be back in the hands of US-linked companies. Critics call that a textbook example of 21st century imperialism. Supporters say it's about defending property rights and punishing an illegitimate regime. But either way, it's not really about Venezuelans choosing their own future, it's about who gets the revenue from the world's largest proven oil reserves. Third, who actually pays the price? If you're sitting in Washington or Houston, this is a strategic chessboard: sanctions, blockades, and court cases. If you're sitting in Caracas or Maracaibo, it's food prices, medicine shortages, and whether your salary buys anything at all. Venezuela's economy is already in deep crisis after years of mismanagement, corruption, and earlier sanctions. A hard blockade on crude exports and on imports of key refining chemicals doesn't just hurt the government. It hits workers at PDVSA, truck drivers, small shop owners, and families who depend on subsidized fuel and basic goods. There's also a bigger message being sent to the rest of the global south. If you nationalize resources or push out foreign corporations, you may not just face lawsuits, you may face economic strangulation backed by military power. That's why governments like China's loudly frame this as bullying, and why countries that remember Chile in the 1970s see a familiar pattern: make the economy scream until politics change. So let's break it down one last time. Trump is no longer hiding the motive. In his own words, he believes Venezuela took our oil and he wants it back. His advisors talk about expropriated American wealth and property, as if reserves under Venezuelan soil naturally belong to US corporations. Venezuela's government and many people around the world see it the opposite way. A sovereign nation chose to control its own resources and is now being punished until it gives foreign companies a better deal or a friendlier government. You don't have to like Nicolas Maduro or trust his government to see the bigger question here. Who should decide what happens to a country's oil, its voters or shareholders in another capital? This is Imran Breaks It Down. If you found this useful, please subscribe, like the video, and share it with a friend who keeps hearing democracy, but not the word oil in this story. Your support really helps the channel grow, and it tells me to keep breaking it down with you.